to make this, the first thing you're going to do is on your pattern paper, make sure it's unfold and draw out a line that will be the shoulder line. So we're going to be taking all our measurements from that line. Just draw a typical straight line, and that is it. So from that line, I'm going to be going down by you can come down by your bust measurement, but for this I'm going to be coming down by 14 inches. That is the length of my Dickey, which is the first collar jacket. So I'm coming down by 14 inches, and I'm going to make that into a straight line. Then the next thing I'm going to do is here, the wideness of this Dickey is the shoulder. You're going to be using your shoulder as the wideness. So for me, my shoulder is 16 divided by 2, that's 8. So I'm going to mark 8. No sewing allowance needed. So once I mark from that 8 point mark, I'm going to come down by 7 inches, which is half the length of my Dickey. So I've marked my 7 inches there. Now I'm going to connect from my shoulder line, the 8 inches of my shoulder line, down to this 7 inches here. And I'm going to connect from this 7 inches down to the length of this dress using a curved rule. The length of this Dickey using a curved rule, just like this. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark out my neckline. So for my neckline, I'm going to come down by 2.5 inches, and I'm going to come in by 2.5 inches. Now I'm going to connect this together to give me my neckline shape. Now on this mark I have here, on this line I have here, I'm going to come down by 1 inch, which is my shoulder slope, and I'll connect it to my neckline. Now this is all you need for the back. This is all for the back. So please, there is a little mistake there. This is the back neckline, sorry. So I'm going to come down by 1 inch, not 2.5. I'm going to come down by 1 inch, and then I'm going to come in by 2.5 inches. So I'm going to make that into a neckline. I had to erase off the first neckline I drew. So this is the main one we're working with. Now I've drawn that to form my neckline, and this is our template. So I'm going to be cutting this out, and then this is what we have. So here is the back, and then the next thing to just do is to cut the front. Guys, you can see how simple it is to cut. Now when we're done with this, I'm going to be cutting the front. And to cut the front, make sure your pattern paper is on fold, just like this, and then fold in 1.5 inches, which will serve as the button allowance. You know, there is button in the front, so for the button allowance, we're going to be folding in an extra 1.5 inches, just like you're folding your zipper allowance in. So just fold in that extra 1.5 inches, just like this, which is for the button allowance. So on this 1.5, I'm going to mark 1 inches, which is the button space allowance. Just mark 1 inch, just mark 1 inch like that, and make it into a straight line. Now once that is done, so the next thing is to do is just place. So here I'm going to indicate, here is the button allowance, which is the 1 inch. Now I'm just going to place my back pattern. I'm just going to place it on this here, and make sure that the tip of this back is laying on that 1 inch allowance mark, just like you see in the video. The next thing for you to do is just to cut out. No extra allowance, no extra sewing allowance, no nothing. Just cut it out, following the shape of this back that we have. Yeah, so that is it. As simple as that is. So now you're going to transfer this onto your main fabric, the fabric we're working with. We're going to transfer this on our main fabric. So for my front neckline now, I'm going to come down to make that 2.5 inches, because for my front neckline I'm using 2.5 inches, but for the back neckline I'm using 1 inch. So I had to deduct that 1 inch I cut out for the back from it. Then I mark that 2.5 inches, make it into a neckline curve just like this, and I'm going to be cutting this out. So this is all there is to the cutting of this face collar jacket, or what that you call Dickey. So here is the front and here is the back. So the next thing to do now is just to cut this on our main fabric. No extra allowance, no sewing allowance, just cut what you have on your pattern paper on your main fabric. So here it is. I've gone ahead to cut both the front and the back on my main fabric, and here it is. So now the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to place it right sides facing each other, just like this, and I'm going to go ahead to stitch it at the shoulder by 1/2 inch. I'm going to be doing that for both shoulders. I'm stitching it by 1/2 inch. So this is it. I'm going ahead to attach both shoulders and also top stitch at the shoulders. Then the next thing is to fold in all the sides. So I'm just going to fold in all the sides with a double folding, just like this. So this is 1, then 2, like that, and I'm going to do that all through to the all sides of this piece. So here it is. I'm going to have to fold in and stitch all the sides in. Now the next thing I'm going to do here is so I've got my elastic band, and this is my elastic band. So I'm going to attach my elastic band, one to this side and then the other on this side, like this, and I'm going to stitch this down. So this is going to serve as the holder to hold this fake collar jacket, to hold this piece on my body when I put it on. So I'm going to stitch this here, and I'm going to stitch this other one also on this other side, making sure that they are on the same length from the shoulder. So I'm going to stitch this down. So here it is. You can see this is it. This is it also. So I've got it on my mannequins, and this is how it's looking. So here is the band to hold it onto your body so that it doesn't move. So here it is. We are not done yet, but you can see it's already looking so fantastic. So the elastic bands at the sides will attach and hold this Dickey firmly on your body, so that even while going on with your day-to-day or your daily activities, this is not going to puff off, or it's going to puff. It's not going to puff out of your main outfit. It's going to sit well on your body, because these elastic bands are going to hold this Dickey firmly to your body, and it's going to make sure that this Dickey is tight. So the next step, which is almost the final step, is to attach the collar to the neckline. So to do that, you're going to measure your neckline all together like this. And what you have, for me, after measuring this, what I have 17 inches. So which means that I'm going to be making my collar to be 17 inches as well. So now the next thing I'm just going to do is to cut my collar. Now to make this t-shirt collar, we're going to be drafting it on a pattern paper first. Now make sure your pattern paper is on fold, just like this. Now the first thing we're going to do is to draft out the collar stand. So to draft out the collar stand, we're going to be using the neckline, which is 17 inches divided by 2. That gives me 8.5. Now I'm going to mark my 8.5 like this. So right from the folded part down here, I'm sorry my camera didn't cover this up, but you're still going to see it. So here it is. I'm going to measure 8.5. Now the length of this collar stand, you can use between 1 inch is okay. All right, 1 inch to 1.5 inches is okay, it's fine. All right, so for me, I'm going to be using 1.25, but normally often I use 1 inches. So let's just use 1.25 for the sake of this tutorial. Now I'm going to mark my 1.25 here, and I'll mark here also, and then I'll mark here also, which is 1.25, and I'm going to be making this into a straight line. Now here it is. I've made that into a straight line. The next thing I'm just going to do is here I'm going to come in by 1/2 inch, and I'm going to connect it into this line. So you can do that with your free hand, and you can do that with your curved rule, anyone that is best for you. So here it is. I've made that into a curved. Now the next thing you're going to do is to make our extended collar. Now to make that, from this 1/2 inch mark that you have, just come in by 1 inch. Now on that 1 inch mark, determine how long you want your extended collar to be. Sometimes I use 3 inches, sometimes I use 2.5. So let's use 2.5 for this particular tutorial. Now I'm going to be marking 2.5 inches here, like that. Now I'm going to come here to this end. So we're going to connect it to this 1 inch mark that we have. Now after we have done that, now the next thing is to come onto this side. You're going to use the measurement you have on your collar stand, which is 1.25. That is what you're going to mark here. So just mark 1.25 here. So if we had used 3 inches for this, we would have used 1.5 inches for this. But since we used 2.5, So we're going to be following what we use for the collar stand, which is 1.25. So I'm going to mark my 1.25 here like this. Now I'm going to connect from that point here with a curved rule like this. So guys, here our collar is ready. So what I'm going to just do next now is to cut this out. But if you want a longer extended collar, you can as well extend the measurement. So the next thing for us to do is to cut this out so that we can cut this on our main fabric. Now here it is. I'm cutting it out, cutting the collar stand first, then I cut out the extended collar. So here it is. So as you can see, now the next thing is for us to cut this out on our fabric. But before then, we're going to be using a collar stay to make this work, to make it stand. So here now I'm going to show you how. So this is how it's looking like. You can see this is the collar stand and this is the extended collar on it. So here is the collar stay. This is what I'm going to use. This is what is called a collar stay. So I'm going to be cutting the collar stand as well as the extended collar on this collar stay first, then before using this one that I've cut on the collar stay to cut on my main fabric, as you can see. So I've already attached the collar stay on the main fabric, and what I did was, while cutting on the main fabric, I made sure that I added ½ inch allowance all through. All right, I made sure that I added ½ inch allowance all through. I used that paper pattern to cut out my collar stay, and then I now cut it out on my fabric, but ensuring that I added ½ inch sewing allowance all through, both on the standing, on the collar stand and on the extended collar, as you can see here in the video. Now after you're done with that, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to be stitching your extended collar first. So stitch it along this line, down here and down here, just like you see, and leave this downward side open. So just this is what I said. So you stitch all these parts. Now I'm just going to trace out the excess, that is if you have any. Just trace it out like you can see that I'm doing. This is just to make your collar be more relaxed. So after you are done that, then the next thing is to notch. Just notch your extended collar on this side, on this curved area. So make sure you give it some notches there. Then after you are done notching, turn it inside out. So once you turn it inside out, this is how it's going to look like. Then go over to your sewing machine and stitch down this opened side. So here it is. You stitch this down, and once you stitch this down, the next thing is to take in your collar stand. So you're going to be placing your extended collar right in between the collar stand. But before you do that, make sure to notch both the extended collar at the midpoint and the collar stand at the midpoint, because it's going to be very useful for you here. So just notch both. Now after notching, I'm going to place my extended collar in the middle just like this, and I'm going to be placing my collar stand like as well. So place one underneath and place the other one above. Then I'm going to go over to my sewing machine and I'm going to stitch this following where my hand is. I'm going to stitch it all through like this to this point. So I have done that, and this is how it is. So the next thing to do is to trace out your excess also if you have, and make sure to notch this curved part just like this. Now turn it inside out. Then you're going to be stitching this open part. So here that you see that this open side, just go back to your sewing machine and you're going to stitch it down. So this is how it will look like after stitching down and after giving it a good press. Now the next thing for us to do, which is the final step, is to attach this collar to the neckline of our main piece. So make sure that the center of the collar is facing the center of the neckline just like this, and as you can see, it's equal. So we're going to be stitching this down. So friends, I'm going to show you this method that I use. It makes my work so neat and easy. So if you want to make a collar, just make use of this method. So what is this method? Is the fact that you can see I joined the collar to the neckline of this dicky, and now at this point where I have the button space, I had to open it up like this. So I connected my collar to it this way while it is opened, and now I'm going to just place it on my collar like this and stitch it down so that it can be in the middle, and then this button space is going to cover it up this way. And I'm going to do the same thing to this other side as well. As you can see, I have opened up this button space, and I'm going to connect my collar also to the end here, and then I'm going to close it up like this, so that when I'm done stitching and I open it up, I'm going to have something like this. Let me just go to make it and come here to show you. So this is what I have. You can see this is what I have. So when you open it up this way, you can see that the collar is going to be in the middle inside of the button space, and the same goes for this as well. So I'm just going to make it like this, as you can see. So now what I'm going to do here, I'm going to be using my bias tape. Use this bias tape, and I'll tape it to make my work very neat. So I'm going to tape this bias tape all through like this. I'm going to stitch it all through. I'll open it up like this and stitch it all through till I get to the other end. Till I get to this other end like this. Then when I'm done stitching, I'll then cover it up like this. I'll fold it in like this, so that my bias tape is going to cover up this joining side here to make my work very neat. So here it is. So you can see that, you can see how neat the inner is looking. You can see how neat it is, friends. So the next thing is just to cover up this side, and then just stop stitch and just stitch down this button side. And I'll do that here, and I'll do that here also. Then after that, the final step is just to top stitch here, so that it can hold firmly to the main bodies. I'm just going to top stitch on it round like that. So guys, we are done with this particular tutorial. Here we have come to the end of this project. So you can see this is how the inner is looking, the inner of the collar. You can see how neat it is. I always like my job neat, so that is why I always prefer this method. So this is it, and this is the outside. So this is the extended collar, and here is the collar stand. So friends, we have come to the end of this tutorial. Drum rolls. So we have come to the end of this tutorial, and this is our collar. You can see how beautiful it turned out to be. This is our collar. Now the final and the last but not the least step is just to attach your buttons. Just to attach your buttons and make space for your buttonholes on this side, and you're done with this. So ladies and gentlemen, this is what we have. You can see both the inside and the outside of this jacket is very neat, looking nice and looking very, very beautiful. This is the back view of the collar. You can see this is how the back view looks like. It's curved. So this is the back view of the collar, and this is the front view of the collar. So the last step is to attach the buttons here, and then the buttonholes here, and this makes for your fake collar jacket. Guys, I hope you love it. I hope you love this so much. Let me know what you feel about this tutorial in the comments. Let me know what you feel. Let me know how you feel about it. You can introduce this to your corporate friends that work in corporate establishments. It's a lifesaver and it's a time saver as well.